There is something glorious about fighting giants. A person defeating someone bigger and stronger than themselves not only feels satisfying but also creates highly cinematic scenes. The anime Attack on Titan depicts humanity's battle against giants. At times, it even turns into a battle between giants themselves, and ultimately, it tells the story of humans fighting each other. However, summarizing this anime solely as a battle between humans and giants would be extremely superficial. At its core, this anime is a battle of ideas. Through the character Zeke, we question the problem of suffering in the world. Through the struggle between the Marley and Eldian races, we explore the concept of genocide, and through Eren, we ponder the meaning of freedom. In the Attack on Titan universe, every character represents a specific ideology, and when we consider this philosophical aspect of the anime, we can see that it not only captivates us with its storytelling, but also challenges our minds with deep questions. And that is the topic of this video, the philosophy of Attack on Titan. The anime begins by showing us a war unlike any we are used to. In this war, humans face an enemy vastly different from themselves. Titans, mysterious creatures whose origins and motives remain unknown from the very first episode, kill humans in perhaps the most terrifying way imaginable, by eating them. In response, humans built walls to protect themselves. However, with the emergence of different variations of Titans, these walls gradually began to lose their effectiveness. During this time, we are introduced to our main character, Eren, along with his friends Mikasa and Armin. These friends join the military, aiming not only to protect the walls by killing Titans, but also to uncover the mystery behind them. And in this complex anime, the first concept we need to stop and examine is the problem of suffering. The world is a cruel place. This phrase is repeated multiple times by various characters in the anime, and when we analyze it, we can see that it serves as a fundamental law within the Attack on Titan universe. The world of Attack on Titan is filled with suffering from top to bottom. Nearly every character has experienced severe trauma in their past. Eren witnesses his mother being devoured by a Titan. Mikasa's parents are brutally murdered before her eyes when she is just a child. Armin, Levi, Erwin, every character has endured intense suffering since childhood, and they continue to do so. This anime heavily focuses on the problem of suffering. The story also emphasizes that even nature itself is cruel and merciless. The idea that the strong crush the weak is explored throughout the narrative. For Eren and those around him, the greatest source of suffering in the world is the Titans. Because of this, Eren initially dedicates his life to eradicating all Titans from existence. But what about those who control the Titans? What philosophy lies behind the minds directing them? This brings us to Zeke, the war chief leading the attack on Eldia's walls. Interestingly, he himself is an Eldian. But this raises an unusual question. Why would someone want to exterminate their own people? If none of us had been born, we wouldn't have to suffer this much. This statement from Zeke is the shortest summary of his philosophy, and when we analyze it, we can see that his ideas resemble the philosophy of antinatalism. According to antinatalism, bringing a child into this world is morally wrong because the world is filled with suffering, and having a child essentially condemns them to experience pain. Therefore, choosing not to have children is seen as an act of kindness, sparing them from future suffering. When we look back at Zeke, we see that his goal is to erase the Eldian race from existence. In his view, the mere presence of Eldians causes suffering, not just to the people of Marley, but more importantly, to the Eldians themselves. And in some ways, Zeke has a point. Eldians, who have the potential to transform into Titans, have inflicted significant harm on Marley in the past. However, the greatest damage they have caused has been to themselves. Even when they had no external enemy to fight, they waged civil wars, killing each other. Therefore, Zeke believes that the only way to eliminate the problem of suffering is to remove its source, the Eldian race. And with this, we can answer the question, why would someone want to wipe out their own people? In Zeke's mind, he is actually helping his race by ending their suffering. However, there is a key difference between Zeke's philosophy and antinatalism. Antinatalism, by definition, opposes birth. It is only against bringing new life into the world. But Zeke not only wants to prevent new Eldian children from being born, he also seeks to eliminate those who are already alive. Taking this into account, we can say that what he is truly advocating for is not just preventing birth, but forced euthanasia of an entire race. And there's a word for that: genocide. The anime Attack on Titan, especially in its final seasons, transforms into a full-fledged genocide story. When we compare it to real-world history, we can find striking similarities between the events of the anime and the Nazi genocide of the Jewish people. Just as Nazi Germany sought to exterminate the Jews, there is a clear intent in the anime to commit genocide against the Eldian people. Similar to how the Nazis viewed Jews as a race that needed to be erased, the Marleyans in the anime consider the Eldians living within their borders as bearers of devil's blood and treat them with extreme contempt. However, the Nazi metaphor doesn't end there. After the Holocaust, surviving Jews were forced to wear yellow badges to distinguish them from others, leading to discriminatory treatment. Similarly, within Marley's walls, the Eldians are forced to wear a badge that strongly resembles the Jewish badge from history. Additionally, there are multiple references to World War II, the era of the Holocaust. For instance, we frequently see Zeppelins being used in the anime's final season. Even the lyrics of the intro song resemble a military march, further emphasizing the wartime atmosphere. But what we should really focus on here is how the anime constructs a unique genocide dynamic. In most historical genocides, we see conflicts between two entirely different racial or ethnic groups. However, in Attack on Titan, we see an unusual case where the same race is attempting to wipe itself out. The Marleyans want to eradicate the Eldians, but use other Eldians under their control as soldiers to achieve this goal. At this point, even if we understand Zeke's philosophy, we need to approach the motives of other Eldians differently, as their reasons for engaging in genocide against their own people differ from Zeke's. Here, Plato's allegory of the cave, a well-known concept from his book The Republic, provides a perfect explanation for this situation. Imagine a group of people chained inside a dark cave from birth, unable to turn their heads, forced to look only at the wall in front of them. All they have ever seen are shadows cast on the cave wall by objects passing in front of a fire behind them. Because they know nothing else, they believe these shadows are reality. One day, one of them breaks free, steps out of the cave, and realizes that the world he thought was real was merely an illusion. The outside world is completely different from what he had perceived. But when he returns to the cave to explain this revelation to the others, they refuse to believe him, stubbornly insisting that the shadows are the only truth. If we apply this allegory to Attack on Titan, we can see that the Eldians living within Marley's walls have been conditioned from birth to believe that their own race is inherently evil. They have been indoctrinated to hate their own people. As a result, they have been programmed to participate in the extermination of their own race. The irony is that the other side, the Eldians living on Paradise Island, have also been living in ignorance for a long time. They have been led to believe that they are the last remaining humans on Earth, unaware of Marley's existence. They only later discover that the Titans they have been fighting all this time were actually their own people, transformed against their will. In short, the anime, much like Plato's allegory of the cave, presents us with two opposing sides, each believing in a different version of reality, completely unaware of the true nature of the world. And when individuals begin to recognize these conflicting realities, it is inevitable that they will experience psychological turmoil. A perfect example of this is Reiner Braun. Reiner suffers from a complete split personality disorder. Born an Eldian within Marley's borders and raised to hate his own race, Reiner is later sent as an undercover agent to Paradise Island. However, after spending years among his fellow Eldians, he becomes so immersed in their world that he sometimes forgets he is a spy. His struggle between two conflicting realities and prolonged exposure to both ideologies reveals just how manipulable the concept of reality can be. This brings to mind the big lie technique, which was famously used in Nazi propaganda. The idea was best summarized by Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda. If you tell a big enough lie and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. If we return to the anime, we can see that many characters refuse to break free from the ideologies they have been fed. Their refusal to acknowledge reality is deeply tied to the big lie. They have been subjected to a specific belief system for so long that seeing the truth has become nearly impossible for them. This is best illustrated by Eren Yeager when he states, "Most people are pushed forward by something. They are forced to walk toward hell. It wasn't their choice. Their circumstances or others made them do it." And speaking of Eren, we absolutely need to take a closer look at his character. What does freedom mean? Freedom, in its simplest definition, is the ability to think and act as one wishes. Eren, from the very beginning, is a character who struggles with the concept of freedom. Even as a child, he is filled with anger at the thought of spending his life within the walls and dedicates himself to attaining freedom. However, as the character who is seen as the hope of humanity becomes increasingly ruthless in the later seasons and distances himself from his loved ones, we, as viewers, are forced to reconsider his personality. In fact, the anime had given us clues about Eren's dark potential in earlier episodes. First, he is highly prone to violence. His childhood is full of fights. At just 9 years old, he kills 2 men without hesitation to save Mikasa, proving that he is a fearless and ruthless individual. Although this acts both Mikasa and himself, it is an unexpected move from a child his age. Another example of Eren's darker side can be seen through Armin. One day, Armin brings Eren a book that describes the beauty of the world. Their reactions to this book are completely different. While Armin dreams with childlike excitement of one day seeing those places, Eren, filled with years of frustration from living within the walls, seeks to claim his freedom by force. Armin's motivation is curiosity, whereas Eren's is ambition. In fact, Eren has relied on ambition for strength throughout his life. He cannot exist without an enemy. He is always fighting against someone. Although he claims that his dream is peace and freedom, if he were to achieve that dream and no enemies remained, he would likely turn against himself. Eren has the ability to see future events and their outcomes, and through this power, he discovers a way to achieve his goal of eliminating the Titans. Mikasa must kill him. By allowing Mikasa to kill him, he sends a message to Ymir, the one responsible for creating the Titans. Seeing this, Ymir finally breaks free from the will of King Fritz and stops producing Titans. When this truth is revealed, we understand why Eren wanted to make Mikasa and Armin hate him. In his mind, he believed he was doing them a favor. By sacrificing himself, he would put an end to the existence of Titans. In doing so, he would leave behind a world free from the cruelty of the Titans for Armin and Mikasa. However, he has to sacrifice many things along the way: his relationship with his closest friends, his humanity, and ultimately, his own life. He even sacrifices his own freedom. Ironically, the character who struggles the most for freedom, and perhaps deserves it the most, is ultimately forced to surrender his own freedom. So, did Eren achieve his goal? From one perspective, we can see that he did not solve the world's fundamental problem of suffering. Even though the Titans are gone, as long as humans exist, wars will continue. But Eren's goal was never to create a painless world. That was Zeke's aim. From the very first episode, Eren's true goal has been to eradicate the Titans and secure the freedom of his people. And in that, he succeeds. The only thing he fails to achieve is his own freedom. However, even in sacrificing his life, he still gains a form of freedom. In the final scene, we see a bird flying towards Mikasa and taking the scarf that Eren had once given her, a final symbol of freedom. I can't say that Eren is a good person, but I also can't say he's a bad one, because Eren is a gray character, with the good and bad sides of him seemingly intertwined. Due to his nature filled with contradictions, it's hard to see him as a hero and hard to view him as a villain, but we can easily recognize that he is a human. In fact, Eren can be seen as the embodiment of this anime itself, because, like Eren, this anime exists in a gray area. It leaves unclear who is good and who is bad, who is right and who is wrong. It forces us to re-examine what we think we know and ultimately leaves the final judgment up to us. One truth it persistently tries to show is that conflicting ideologies, characters who hate each other, are essentially two sides of the same coin. Eren and Reiner, Marley and Eldia, and of course, freedom and slavery. While these may seem to be opposites at their core, they are similar and interconnected concepts that need each other. Hajime Isayama, the creator of the series, has stated that his main goal while creating the manga was to hurt the readers, and we can say that he has certainly succeeded in doing so. Throughout the anime, the characters we love die, those we trust betray us, and the harsh finale deeply shakes us. Do you remember a line Mikasa said during a battle? "The world is cruel, but it's still a beautiful place."